Please take your seats. Everyone sit down for the other candidates, so let's give these the same respect, please. Alright, so we have County Court at lab number 4, Echo Hutson and Gary Miller. And we'll start, if you don't mind, Mr. Miller, we'll start with ladies first.
Yeah, sure. I think we're going to.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Okay. Alright, so 2 minutes.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all so much for hanging around. I know the commissioner's race is important over here in precinct 4. So County Court 4 is a county-wide position, so you will be voting for this position. It is a criminal court. It is a criminal misdemeanor court. It also holds the specialized domestic violence docket for this county. So my name is Echo Hutson. I am the Chief Prosecutor of the Domestic Violence Division at your Montgomery County District Attorney's Office. I have been working under Brett Liggins since 2009 when he was first elected here in the county. And in 2011, I created the first Domestic Violence Division and became the first specialized prosecutor for the county for domestic violence cases. I have been working for the majority of this court's existence from the prosecution side, running the docket, taking the cases, working with law enforcement, developing and implementing new policies and procedures for this county. So Judge Mary Ann Turner is retiring. It's an open bench, and I am looking to take over this docket from the judicial side and run it because my experience uniquely qualifies me for this court. So I have also been a defense attorney, and I have worked as a prosecutor of all 5 of Montgomery County's courts at law as the chief prosecutor, which means I have the experience in running a docket, keeping it running smoothly, efficiently, and knowing how those cases move through the docket at the least cost to the taxpayers, which is you. So I am looking to run this court, and I will talk to you more about this. I don't want to take up all your time because I know that we want to get through the evening. So my name is Echo Hutson. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Gary Miller. I'm also running for judge in Court 4. I have been a lawyer since 2005. I started my career as a prosecutor in Harris County. I was there a little less than 3 years. Then I went out on my own. I've been defending people ever since the end of 2008. I am board certified in criminal law. What that means is I had to get qualified and I had to pass an examination. There's less than 30 lawyers that have that distinction in Montgomery County. Basically now my practice consists of serious cases. I have gone to trial pretty much everything under the sun. Capital murders, speeding tickets, you name it, I've done it. This court handles misdemeanors. Misdemeanors are domestic violence assault cases, shoplifting, and then the major cases in all the county courts are driving while intoxicated. These are important cases. They put everyone in danger. Typically, the county court is normally where people who have never been arrested in their lives ever, if they make a mistake, this is where they end up. Kind of the hope here is that's the only contact that they have with the criminal justice system, that they don't see them over and over and over again. These courts are important. Misdemeanors are important, and they are serious. Like I said, DWIs, you're one step away from someone being injured or dying. This court is important because also it does have that domestic violence caseload. I would keep that as well. It's a good thing, not to get too down into it, but basically, if you make cases move faster, fairness happens, justice gets reached quicker, you've got to keep everything moving, and the goal here is to keep the court running smoothly like it is right now. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Miller, this question is for you. There are several big cases that have ended in death because of bail reform or people out on PR bonds. What can be done to keep this from happening?
I have a lot of experience in this. I was a Harris County prosecutor. I have many cases there, right? What is happening is hearings and following the law that it exists, procedures are in place, are not happening. When someone initially gets arrested, they come before a judge. At that point, that's when the bond's determined. If you give someone a PR bond, you set the bond higher, impose conditions on them. A PR bond is basically you don't pay any money, you get let go. It's sort of catch and release. What can be done is procedures need to be followed. PR bonds are appropriate for some cases. I mean, there are cases in this court where you get arrested for driving while your license is suspended. Like, that should be a PR bond. DWIs, assaults, you've got to be careful. Those cases need to individually be looked at about what bonds are set, if they deserve a PR bond, if it needs to be a high bond. Even with misdemeanor cases, bonds sometimes need to be high. It should not be one bond sets every single kind of case. The individual needs to be looked at, their criminal history, their ties to the community. Those things all need to be taken into consideration when doing the PR bonds. You've got to be at work, judges got to hear these cases and make these decisions every day.
Same question?
Same question.
Okay, so last year our legislature implemented the bail reform bill, and it went into effect January 1st of this year. There's some provisions that will be in effect in April. And one of those provisions that I think is important for this question is that PR bonds are not available in certain types of cases, particularly injury cases, assault, family violence type cases, injury to child. Those are the types of cases that our legislature has recognized, and I think our community agrees, that are the ones where judges need to issue a bond to make sure that that person is returning to the court. But also, under Code of Criminal Procedure, Chapter 17, the court has an obligation to consider in each of those cases the safety of the community, the safety of the victim, and the reasonableness of the bond is in balance to that, to bring that person back to court, but also to protect. Judges, law enforcement, and prosecutors have a duty under the code, in a family violence case in particular, to see that a victim is safe throughout the judicial process. So what we're looking at is not only is there a PR bond, but is the bond that is given, even if it's a cash bond, reasonable enough to protect our community and our victims. Those are DWI cases as well, especially in this court. And so in that case, we also want to implement, which Code of Criminal Procedure, Chapter 17, gives a judge conditions of bond in order to make sure that that person is testing clean, that that person is returning to court, that that person is reporting. So all of those things in each individual case should be considered with the facts of the case, the criminal history of the defendant, and all of the outlying issues that are brought before the court to consider appropriately under that code in order to make the right case and the right decision in each case. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Hutson, this is for you. How does your upbringing influence your values today?
This person, you guys let a personal question for me. It's all right, I got this. So I was raised very conservative Christian. My family was very close-knit. I didn't have TV until I was probably 8 or 9, I think, maybe even older than that. My focus was on education. My focus was on family values and Christian values, very conservative. How does my upbringing affect what I do? Well, to be a prosecutor, which is very near and dear to my heart, you take an oath to see that justice is done. We have other duties under the code, like protecting victims, and those things require doing the right thing when no one is looking or no one would ever know. When we go into a grand jury and we present a case, it's secret. Nobody ever knows what comes out of that other than whether an indictment is returned or not. And so for me, that is the definition of personal integrity. Every act that I make as a public servant in this community, I have to live up to as a person and a personal basis in my family, how I raise my children, and how my family operates within this community. Personal integrity, public service, those are absolutely things that are the core value that I was taught. I have dedicated my career, I have dedicated my life in this county to being a public servant because it's the right thing to do, because the right people should be making those decisions. Thank you.
Oh, same question. Okay, got it. Thought we were going somewhere different. All right. I grew up in a very small family. I'm an only child. Some people think that's good. Some people think that's bad. Education was huge in my house. My parents both went to school for a very long time. They instilled in that, to me at a very young age. I consider myself a very reasonable person. All right. A lot of time in criminal justice, you've got to have compassion for people. You've got to see both sides of how people end up where they end up, all right? People that come into this court, it's typically the worst day of their life or the worst moment of their life, all right? People need to be on both sides of this, okay? The community is important. Safety matters. And then you have the competing interest for the person that's arrested. All of these things have got to be considered at once. I was a prosecutor too. I've sent people to prison forever. I've done that too, okay? You've got to be a reasonable person from all angles, and my upbringing's made me see it from different perspectives, use that, make the correct decision so that justice is done. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Violent crime, particularly youth, is an increasing problem in EMC. What, if any, do you believe of the judiciary with this problem? We'll start with you, Mr. Miller.
Okay. For criminal law purposes, you become an adult in Texas at 17. So I think this is actually addressing people younger than that. So that goes to the juvenile system. It's completely different than kind of what happens in the county courts. And then once you're 17, then you will be, if you charge with a crime, you'll be in the county courts. Let me tell you, a lot of 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds do get arrested. That is a thing, that's a big deal. Judges have got to be on the front line for that, all right? A lot of times, you've got to get involved in the defendants' lives. There's many programs out there through the probation department. There are different agencies that can help. Judges have got to be aware that there are places out there, they've got to get involved. A 17-year-old, let's just be honest, they do dumb things, all right? You've got to be ready, you got to step in, you got to be firm, you've got to help them, assist them through there, so you never see them again. You don't want to be the people that come back 20 times in their life. You've got to step in when they're young, get involved, and that is kind of the responsibility of the judge to help them usher the case through, stay on top of them, help them finish what they need to do so they hopefully don't end up with a criminal conviction or get back on the right path.
So I think that, this question is phrased increasingly as a problem in East Montgomery County, but it's really a problem across the country, isn't it? Which is concerning, and so we have to look at some things as to why are we going the path that we're going, and what can a county judge do? What can a misdemeanor criminal judge do? And I think that goes back to human behavior and understanding why people make decisions that they make. And one of my specialties, I'm a known expert regionally across Texas, and I teach across the nation for domestic violence. And I know that there's a cycle of domestic violence that happens in the home. And children who witness domestic violence grow up to be abusers, or they grow up to be victims. And so violence perpetuates violence. And so if we're talking about children who are going out in the world and creating violence, that's also statistically connected, because family violence is known to step outside the home and become violent towards law enforcement. It's known to become violent towards others in the community. And most people who are mass shooters or violent offenders for strangers start with domestic violence. And so really what can we do in our community is hold those offenders accountable, because the other statistic for that is to stop the cycle of violence. Children who witness it but also see the abuser held accountable are more likely to break the silence and break that cycle. And so that is something that I can do in my court every day, is to make sure that abusers are held accountable. It's what I already do from the prosecution side, but I think that that's important because who you put into office at the local level has to understand the greater ramifications for our county. So I think that's a really great question. Thank you for whoever asked that.
Okay, that's all the questions for the county court at 4? 4, yeah. Okay, so we'll do the closing and start with Mr. Miller.
I guess you figured it out, right? Like we're on the opposite sides every day. You guys got that part? Okay. I've done it all. I've been a prosecutor, been a defense attorney for a long time. I've been a lawyer for 16 years. All right, you need someone that's reasonable, fair, has seen it all, done it all. I've been there, done that. All right. This court's important. Domestic violence, it's a big deal. All right, but this court is bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. Every type of case that comes in there is important. And DWIs make up, I think, maybe twice as many cases as the assault cases do. These cases are important. I'm the only candidate board certified in criminal law in this race. I've lived in Montgomery County since 2009. I love it here. I'm married, I have 2 daughters, I go to public school. It's awesome. This court's important. You need someone that's fair, reasonable, that has the experience to handle these important cases. You don't want to leave this up to anyone that doesn't know what they're doing. This court is important. The court is well run. Things need to continue how it's going. I can do that. I've done that. I'll be there every day to usher these cases through, go to trial, handle what needs to be handled, and we'll get these cases moving and get people out of the system. I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
So I've dedicated my entire professional career to this county. And I wouldn't be running for this position if it weren't for this court. This court is so special, it's so unique. When we started the domestic violence docket, which it has fewer cases because they move faster because we implemented rapid case movement through the system. But we run more of them through and we take more from the other courts. And so this is a very important docket. Before I started this court, we were dismissing more than half of our family violence cases in this county. Those are the ones that law enforcement were even bringing to us. I implemented multidisciplinary teams. I implemented high lethality factors in order to determine which ones are likely to lead to a homicide. And we started focusing in on the most dangerous cases in the misdemeanor courts that we have. In the first year, we went to a 90% conviction rate, and we have kept that up for 10 years. This court is now being recognized as one of the national high performers. There is a reason why I know this court from the inside out, and it is so important to me. My husband is a master peace officer, law enforcement officer in this county. He is a reserve for Constable Gable in Precinct 3. I am endorsed by Precinct 3, Constable Gable, Precinct 1, Philip Cash, Precinct 5, Chris Jones. I'm endorsed by the Montgomery County Tea Party. I'm endorsed by the Republican Voters of Texas. I'm endorsed by Montgomery County Law Enforcement Association and by Coalition of Police and Sheriffs. My county is your county, and I will be a public servant for you. My name is Echo Hutson. Please go to electecho.com for more information, or please come talk to me. Thank you so much for your time tonight.